The mainstream media backlash from our Alberta rally for families in both Edmonton and Calgary, that were major successes, by the way, is still going strong over a few chants of lock her up and a fake news storyline in the mainstream media that well-known activist group Raging Grannies were thrown out when we all know that their purpose is to distract and disrupt. Never mind the thousands of frustrated Albertans that are against the carbon tax and are deeply concerned about the economy and their livelihoods, which was the entire purpose of the rally, to stand in support with them. They couldn't possibly have made for viral headlines, though, could they have? The CBC brought in an academic to call us deplorable because they couldn't do it themselves. Mainstream media reporters are calling us illegitimate because we engage in a little bit of activism. Others say we were playing into the hands of the NDP by calling conservative politicians out for bending to the media and throwing their frustrated constituents under the bus. You'd think it was a slow news week, judging by the amount of coverage the Rebel is receiving. But of course, Justin Trudeau and the federal Liberals' pay-to-play scandal and the story about the conflicts of interest surrounding the Trudeau Foundation slid under the radar because, well, some media platforms are just bought and paid for by the government, and we just provide distractions from their boss, Justin Trudeau. I'll be reporting on those stories a little later this week. Rob Breckenridge from News Talk 770 right here in Calgary heckled CPC leadership candidate Brad Trost for standing in the corner of free speech. He was having a tantrum over chants and t-shirts for the better part of a week. Here, he even sarcastically suggests that Sheila Gunn Reid is playing into the hands of the NDP for refusing to denounce rally attendees and calling out conservatives. Is this what it's all about now? We have to be careful about what we say, or maybe the Conservatives will lose an election? I had no idea that we at the Rebel were also the campaign managers of Conservative politicians. Of course, I can't forget that he also got into the mix when a reporter with 770, Haley Germain, accused a couple or one rally goer of death threats, and you can see Ezra Levant's commentary on that at haleygermain.com. Graham Thompson from the Edmonton Journal says that he supported us being at news conferences less than a year ago, but now because we held a couple of rallies, we're not legitimate. Is that so? We've never hidden our activism, so he already knew about that when he advocated for us to be allowed in government press conferences. Funny how he now decides who journalists are. And look at these tweets where David Bell of CBC avoided calling Ezra, myself, and Sheila reporters or even referring to us by name. Look here, we're referred to as Rebel and spokesperson. How many times do you think he had to reword those tweets to avoid calling us journalists? Like he doesn't know who we are. And it gets worse. A photo of Wild Rose MLA Derek Fildebrandt was used in a way to make him look like he was giving a Nazi salute, which is pretty gross. Sheila Gunn Reid actually did a full story on that one too. But the tweets from the media are really quite telling. Like Haley Germain herself, who out of her 21 tweets of actual reporting of the event, 7 of them, 1/3 of them, were about Bernard the Roughneck, who was calling out the media. In this one, she actually uses angry caps to show her frustration about biased reporting because that's not biased in itself. And then hours after the event, she all of a sudden apparently received death threats from, was it 1 or 2 attendees? That story still isn't very clear. By the way, she didn't make one tweet about oilfield dad Chad, who's been struggling, or Robbie Picard, who lost his house in the Fort Mac fires. Real Albertans with real stories of hardship. David Bell, the journalist that couldn't even say our names or call us reporters, takes it personally too, tweeting out about the CBC and how they were highlighted as disgusting and disgraceful, that the rally contained equal parts of anti-tax, Notley elites, and CBC sentiment. And about our donation bucket, he takes the cake for a number of defensive tweets about the CBC. And yeah, unlike the CBC, who campaigned hard for the Liberals and their taxpayer-funded paychecks, we get paid by the people that want to watch us and donate to us, not the people that have no choice. And the craziest thing about all of this is what people are tired of, the media not reporting the news. These rallies were about the people of Alberta that are suffering, but the mainstream decided to make it about chants and signs and Nazis and us. And it's because their dislike for us outweighs their concern for Alberta, and people can see that. And what happened to these freedom fighters that stood with us when the NDP kicked us out of press conferences and the legislature? Well, their jobs were on the line then, knowing that the government could decide who journalists are. But now it's the media that's deciding who is. Like I said, I guess we could say that Donald Trump's election changed things. It was the biggest middle finger to the mainstream media ever. And I think that this latest reaction is just a sign of the times. We're hearing a lot about fake news, and this last week and the media meltdown are just examples of that. It's a prime example of the media not being accountable to the people. We didn't hear the stories of the thousands of hurting Albertans that attended our rallies, and in this case, it's in a trade-off to cause distractions from the mainstream media itself. For the Rebel.media, I'm Holly Nicholas. Thanks for watching. I mentioned Haley Jarmaine in that video. She's the journalist that accused rally-goers at our Calgary event of serious threats, and we want to find her would-be attackers. Visit HaleyJarmaine.com for full details.